In this video, I'll be sewing the Demeter Dress by Anna Allen Clothing. I wanted a light summer dress, but I made this with a lining so that it wouldn't be see-through, and I ended up having a lot of trouble along the way with the double layer fabric and alterations. So stick with me today as I go through creating this dress, altering it, and ultimately coming up with something that I will love wearing. So as I mentioned, I wanted to create this dress with a lining, and I wasn't exactly sure how to go about this. I'm not a professional seamstress by any means. I'm just an at-home sewist who enjoys making her own clothes. So for the lining, I'm using a linen fabric from thefabricstore.com. I believe it was a medium weight linen. I should have gone with a paperweight, a very lightweight linen, but anyways, lesson learned. So I'm creating the dress twice. I'm following the pattern and I'm creating a dress out of the lining fabric and then again out of the main fabric with a few modifications. In these clips, I'm sewing the sides together and then I'm serging the edges to finish it off. I then tried it on quickly just for fit, and I'm not totally sure about the darts. I think after I iron them out, they'll look a little better, but because it's the lining, I'm not too worried about it. Here I'm sewing the gathering stitches on the top of the skirt panels. But it was at this point that I realized I had sewed the gathering stitches on the side instead of the top. And I realized that I just needed to take a break and come back to this later. Okay, so it has been a minute. I started a kitchen renovation and I was not able to finish this dress, but it is hot outside and I want a summer dress. So I'm taking a little pause this weekend. It's Sunday, and I thought this would be a good day to creatively rest. I painted my nails, feeling very summery. I went thrifting and I got this pair of shorts. Don't know if you can see, but I thought they were super cute. I don't have a brand. I don't know where it's from. But this is the first pair of shorts I've found that I actually like because it's like loose, not too short, not too tight. It's just like perfect for me. Okay, so now I'm finishing those gathering stitches, this time on the top. I will say that with this pattern, it's hard to decipher the top from the bottom unless you make sure you mark things, and I also needed to pay closer attention to the notches. Sometimes I'm in a rush and I think I know what I'm doing until I realize I don't. Here I am just double checking my fabric with the pattern piece to make sure everything matches up right. And now it was time to move on to the main fabric. I had the fabric sitting out for a few days, and so I had to iron it again to make sure it was perfect for sewing. I started off by sewing stay stitches along the neck hole and armholes so that the fabric doesn't stretch around while you're sewing it up. I was working on the darts here, and the way that I sew my darts is I sew at a regular stitch length, but then as I get closer to the end, I shorten the stitch length all the way to the lowest, and this sort of ties a knot without actually tying a knot. At this point, I realized that the darts were really uneven and not matching up. I was gonna try to use a seam ripper and fix it, but it wasn't quite working because the fabric was delicate, and so I was back to the cutting board. This time I was even more careful with my markings, and while I was sewing I tried to really make sure that I had everything lined up. It wasn't too difficult to redo this portion because I hadn't really sewed any of the pieces together and I still had a good bit of fabric left, so I just thought I would be happier in the end if I just went ahead and recut the piece and gave it another go. This was already looking so much better, and I'm glad I decided to go ahead and redo it. I have my directions in front of me because I'm making the dress, but I'm also changing it a little with adding the lining. I was not exactly sure what I was doing here, so just playing around with it. But I needed to sew the shoulder seams first and the side seams, and then I was able to begin attaching the lining to the main fabric. Now, before I actually sewed the side seams, I put the lining on it again how it would be finished, but I didn't sew it together yet because I just wanted to get a visual of it and make sure I was doing it right. At this point, I took a little break because I had to get started on dinner. If you've seen my last videos, you know that I'm in the middle of a kitchen remodel, so we don't have a kitchen right now. But this is my cute little pantry that I built, and that's another video you can find. This was a fun project for me to build the cabinets and just really make it my own and learn a lot of new skills. But anyways, tonight I'm making sourdough quick burger buns. I make these a lot because they can be ready pretty quickly because they include sourdough discard and also yeast. And because I put it in my bread machine, a lot of the work is done for me. It's been working out with my small appliances, still making dinners. So I've got the bread going, and then I also have a dinner going in the slow cooker. This is my little pantry setup. Dinner is a chuck roast. We're making French dip sandwiches. So with the buns and the meat, that's what we're doing for dinner. All right, it took me a while to figure this out, but I made two bodices. I put the lining inside of the top bodice, and I couldn't figure out the direction, and so what I ended up doing was just laying it out how I want it to look when I wear it, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to sew these together, and then I'm going to add the neckline binding and armhole binding. I believe that I am using toenail scissors for sewing right now because my kids take my things and I don't know where my fabric scissors are. And if I were to guess, it would be like out in the yard somewhere. For the neckline and armhole binding, my advice to you would be to make sure your bias tape that you create is not too narrow. I tend to always make mine too narrow and I'm barely able to fold it twice over like the directions tell me to. So it's a little finicky when you're trying to sew a clean neckline and you don't have a lot of room on your bias binding tape. I finally discovered this little trick, and that is to roll up your ironing pad, if you have one, to iron around those armholes and curved edges. Super helpful. After attaching the pockets to the main fabric skirt panels, it was time to attach the lining. That was a lot of clipping and a lot of fabric. I just realized that I want to hem the lining separate than the main fabric, and so I'm only going to sew the side seams down to a certain point, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to hem this, and then I will finish sewing down the bottom. This dress is legit like 5 pounds. I am determined to finish it tonight, and so I need a little pick-me-up because I'm going to be staying up a little late tonight. Now I need to gather the fabric and attach the bodice, and then I think I'm done. It's amazing to me how my confidence went from high to very, very low during this process. The gathering was incredibly difficult. It took me like 45 minutes. The problem was just that the layers of fabric, there's just so much fabric, and the panels were so wide. There's just a lot of gathering and matching up all the notches and the layers. It was just a long process. And I was really beginning to doubt whether my idea to add a lining was a good one or not. As much as I love the idea of a lined dress, I was wondering if maybe I should have just worn a slip or something with this. But anyways, I have come a long way, and so I didn't want to stop. I'm so nervous. Now I'm just giving it one last good iron to make sure those gathers and seams are laying flat, and then I will go ahead and throw it on, but I'll show you guys in the morning. I don't know, guys. I don't think this is it. Not the vibe I was going for. It's just It's too baggy. It doesn't have any shape. It's like it could be cute, but I don't think it's working. So I don't know what to do. But I don't think I can alter it that well because there's a lot of extra fabric here. So I don't know how to like add a zipper and get rid of all that. It's frustrating because it was so much work and it's so well made. Like it looks like a high quality dress. It's beautiful on a hanger. I don't know what to do. Last night I like walked in slowly to show my husband and just like we both started laughing and just laughing to the point of tears because he knew I had just been working on it all day. Honestly, watching this clip back makes me have second thoughts. I think it looks kind of cute here, but in certain angles and just wearing it, it kind of felt like I was wearing a nightgown, and I don't know, I wasn't feeling too confident. I decided to go ahead and try to make some alterations. I really wasn't sure what I was doing here, but I didn't want to waste the fabric, and I had to just keep trying. I just couldn't give up on this. I thought about changing it into a skirt, but I really just wanted a dress. So here I go. I got to work by first laying it out and just thinking through my options. I pulled out one of my sewing books to see if it had any advice for me, but ultimately I decided to go ahead and just cut the sides so that I could take in the side seams. I knew that this meant I would have to rebuild the pockets, so I'm happy to say that I'm pretty much an expert at pockets now after this project. It's hard to see really what I'm doing because I did so many things along the way that I don't even know how to explain it. But really, I was just taking it step by step and trying to figure out what I needed to do to fix this dress. To rebuild the pockets, I cut new pocket pieces and attached them to the main fabric exactly like the pattern describes. And then I went ahead to sew the side seams of the dress, like so. The armholes ended up being too tight after I brought in the sides, and there was no way I was going to do that binding again. And so my method was just to roll it down and to sew it up that way. I had to first zigzag the sides of the raw edges there just to make sure nothing was going to be unraveling in the wash. But then just like this, I rolled it down and just, kind of did a hack job of sewing it up. But honestly, it looks perfectly fine and you really don't see that part of the dress. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Just as before, I'm first hemming the lining layer, and then I'm going to sew up the side seams of the dress, and at that point I'll finish off by hemming the main fabric of the dress. I didn't expect this dress to become such a complicated project. I don't think this pattern is actually all that complicated, but I wasn't really in the best headspace when I was making it the first time because I didn't quite know what I was doing with the lining. And it's always harder working on a project when you're just not exactly sure what you're doing. But this time I was feeling a lot more confident. I was also very close to running out of thread, but I was determined to finish this because my husband and I were going on a date, and I just really wanted to finish. I needed the boost, the mental boost that this would give me. After all the alterations I did, I ended up needing to trim a little bit more off the bottom just to even out the dress, and then I moved on to hemming the bottom, which is always the most exciting part because then that means I'm done and I get to go try it on. I'm giving it one last good press with the iron, and also I'm top stitching the front of the dress to really hold those ruffles down and keep everything really clean looking. I was almost out of thread. I wasn't even sure if I was going to make it to the end of this. Oh my gosh. You're not going to believe this.
Dress?
No, the dress is fine.
It's fine? Oh.
I ran out of thread on the last stitch.
No way.
Yes, I'm not even kidding. It's empty now. I've never had that happen ever. I quickly did like a backward stitch to tie a knot and bam, it was done.
Amazing.
So it was all meant to be.
It's a great dress.
All right, let's go put it on. So much better. I think it turned out pretty cute. I do want to make this dress again and just do a smaller size to see how that turns out. It's not too grandma?
No, I mean, probably, but...
Maybe?
I like it.
Little grandma?
Yeah, maybe a little, but...
Got my quilt. All right, thank you guys so much for sticking with me. This was an incredibly difficult, frustrating, stressful project. I'm glad I didn't give up. I'm really happy with the end result. It's not perfect by any means, but it's wearable and I like it. It's fun. I like wearing it. I think it's cute. I hope you do too. And let this be a lesson to all of us that sewing can be a struggle, but it's also very rewarding, and to not beat yourself up, to take a break when you need a break, and just to take every struggle as a learning opportunity. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back maybe in 2 weeks or so with another sewing video. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like for me to make next, just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will just keep doing what I like doing. Thank you so much for watching.